ready.
All right. And we're live.
I'm recording.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Reef.
Cheer perversity.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Reef Factory Podcast. This is Nathan.
Scanlon?
And let's see, what do we got going on today? It is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So that's sad, but real. 2 more victims were identified recently of 9/11 through DNA analysis.
Huh.
So I don't know how many. 40% of the people still remain unidentified.
Did not know that.
Yep, I didn't either until I read an article about it. Which is really, that's all I really have to say about it. There's plenty of TV shows you can watch. It's just, it's a depressing time.
I believe HBO is doing some sort of 9/11 retrospective about like the stuff at the time. I think there's an episode about WWE too, because it was like the first kind of entertainment thing to come back after 9/11.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of a weird time in this country.
You bet.
And it just what was it? You didn't go to the one in Pennsylvania with us, did you?
No.
Yeah, I remember when we went down there. It was it's a weird place. It's just the whole vibe of the place is just sad.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of nowhere, but you have all these nicely paved roads because they built a memorial to them, and it's like, oh, this is strange. And then you just drive up this one hill, and there it is. It's like, wow. And they have like stuff set up in the museum as like it's just like seats from the plane, stuff they recovered, and it's just, and recordings and all that. It's like, oh yeah, this is terrible. I mean, they did a good job, but it was still like, oh, this is sad.
Yeah.
That's the only one I've been to. I've never been to New York or the Pentagon to
No.
see that. Just never occurred to me to do it. But yeah. And this is the 20th anniversary, which it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Yeah.
But then it seems like a real long time ago, too.
Yeah, both. It's Schrodinger's passage of time. It was yesterday and it never happened.
But, I think it's important on the anniversary of this that, now that we left Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden's been dead for a long time. Can we just repeal the Patriot Act and all the weird internal security stuff we're doing now? Because everyone involved is dead. So, but no, we're not going to do that. And they never were. I like seeing all the old weird stuff that cycles around. Metal doesn't burn. It's like, oh, we're back to this again. These old conspiracies. But of course, now the conspiracies are so weird. It's like, how are they going to make Joe Biden the architect of 9/11? What was he then, a senator? I'm sure they'll figure out a way.
Yeah.
That's how America works now.
Yeah, some spending bill he didn't vote on, and it, like, lessened security.
Joe Biden made all his money shorting the airline. We finally found out who did it.
He's the one senator we're going to nail to the wall for insider trading.
Yeah, he's the one. We can't get anyone else. We can't get, who's the lady from California? Senator Feinstein. It's like, yeah, can't get her, can't get any of the other guys.
Trump.
Trump. Did Trump ever do insider trading? I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure he would, but I don't know if he has.
Actually, I don't know. There was like because there was like it was unprecedented where basically like, you know, when you become president, you're kind of supposed to like sever a lot of your business ties so you don't make any money off you being president, and he didn't do that. So if he didn't have insider trading, he clearly profited off of being president.
Yeah. They just put it all in his daughter's name and then branded everything Trump.
Yeah.
Which is like, wow, okay. Yeah, I don't think insider trading was his thing. He was more like loan fraud and like, hey, let's go into business together. And oh, by the way, I keep all the money and you get to go broke. But yeah.
Charity fraud.
Charity fraud. Well, there's a lot of people got nailed on that. But yeah, just anyone who's ever been in business with him is just lost, you know. But I don't know if insider trading is as far as, you know, that takes like, you got to be able to like have friends and networks and stuff. And I don't think he could ever do that.
Yeah, Biden's supposed to sign something where it's like any business with over 100 employees has to show like 100% vaccination.
Or you can do weekly tests, which those companies aren't going to want to pay for.
Yeah, I haven't looked into it. I've just been seeing the reaction to it, which I was like, there's that one douchebag with Charlie Kirk. He runs something called Turning Point USA or something like that.
Oh yeah, our friends at Turning Point USA. Yeah.
And he wrote some tweet about like. He wrote something about like our 170 plus employees will not be adhering to this. It's like, oh, so you have 171 employees. Okay. I always like that plus. It just means one more.
Yeah. 170, 171. Yeah, they're not going to be doing this. It's like, okay, cool. Then you'll be put out of business or you'll have to pay, I forget, because my wife has to get tested every time she goes to work.
Yeah.
And she told me what the tests were, because once they started giving out the vaccine and the COVID numbers started going real low, a lot of those companies that made those tests quit making them because we don't need them anymore. We don't need like 500 million of them made every 6 months or something. But now the prices have gone up on them because a lot of these companies shuttered those plants and now they're trying to make more of them. So yeah, they're expensive. You don't want to pay for those, and you're not going to either. It's like, oh, your religious beliefs, cool. Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you're guaranteed a job, so goodbye. Some guys have found out at work and other places, like, I can be a racist on Facebook. What does that have to do with my job? It's like nothing. It's just you don't have any guarantee. This is employment at will. You don't have any guarantees, and it's like you're fired. It was not any hourly people, but there were some salaried people I know lost their jobs because they thought that like put right on there what company they work for, and then you want to say really awful things. It's like, yeah, they're going to fire you for that.
Oh yeah, there's a subreddit called Bye Bye Job that's pretty much just thousands of that.
Yeah, it's like I know people that did that, and I've run into them sometimes. Can you believe what they did? And I'm thinking to myself, I can't believe you put that on Facebook under your name. It's like, if you have to get that out randomly, fine, but whatever. It's like, yeah, you don't. They didn't screw you over. They're in the business of making money, not defending your right to be.
Yeah, just
not even a subtle, funny, but just a blatant, like out in the open racist. It's like, yeah, no one liked that before. Now you just have a platform.
Or at least do the defending Facebook post about someone hacked my account.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I guess any businesses like they're gonna require that. Which, I mean, they did that in Michigan as soon as the vaccine came out. They were like Henry Ford Health System, which is a giant hospital system here. Like they did it, but it's already been drugged before the state Supreme Court, and it's not been held up as constitutional. So I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know why people want to keep spreading this shit around. But whatever. I know people that have had the vaccine that put stuff on Facebook like, fuck you, we're not doing it. It's like, you already did it. What are you arguing about? I know you've done this, but it's like, fuck Biden. I'm not doing it. Okay, great. But I know you've already done it, so. I know people had family members die. They're like, oh, screw this, I'm not doing it. It's like, oh, was it fun watching grandma vomit her lungs out? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
couldn't.
So the response to this has been mature and nuanced as usual in America.
Well, they had a new like Joe Rogan episode go up with Tom Segura, which usually I'm like, all right, those are the episodes I like to listen to of Joe Rogan, but I just couldn't. I couldn't take it. I couldn't listen to it.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave up. It's not just because of that. I'd given up a while, a few turns back, but it's like I can listen to the comedians that I like on his podcast. I'll just listen to their podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, Tom Segura was being a good friend in that he'll listen to Joe Rogan, but like it's not his place to contend against Joe Rogan's claims. Like he's being a good friend, but also it's just like the best he could do is like at least Tom Segura was like listen to him with like the rap fascination with in the same way that Tom Segura would listen to a heroin addict talk about the butterfly trying to steal the sun. It's like, wow. So I don't know. I was like, wow, does Joe know that Tom is like leading him on or no? I don't know.
It's being Art Bell. Well, tell us about that. That's fascinating. I can't believe that. Hold on.
This Tom Segura is really good at that. Wow, that's amazing. Tell me more.
Yeah. Oh, I imagine it's gonna. I don't even get the feed anymore, but I imagine it's gonna be balls deep, crazy, like another doctor that can only practice.
Oh yeah, I know. I skip past the commercials, and then I get to one bit where he's like talking about like the real conspiracy is that the drug companies don't want to promote ivermectin as a good like drug to fight against COVID. And I was like, oh gosh, I can't handle this. I'm out.
Yeah, it used to be fun. The Texas thing turned it into a pile of shit. That's all it's been. And he has cool friends. I just wish he would go. I wish they need to get. Where's Patton Oswalt? He occasionally goes on there. I'd like to hear his take on all this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that was probably one of the last ones I listened to because I forget Patton Oswalt was. I forget if he was promoting the like the HBO doc about his wife's book about the.
Oh yeah, the Golden State Killer. Yeah.
I think he was promoting that, and I think, and maybe he had a comedy special too. He was on there like last year during the pandemic for something.
He's a guy I'd like to hear this argument with.
Yeah,
because he's funny and he can, and you know what side he takes, and it's not a secret, and nor does he make it a secret. And it's like, oh yeah, this guy could make these arguments funny. Because I feel like anyone who goes on there is going to be like chained to this. Like I don't really want to piss. I like this guy. I don't want to piss him off. And don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with him. It's just this road of dark conspiracy that he's going. You know, it was fun when he had Alex Jones on when I didn't think he believed that. But now it's like, oh, I'm looking at this through new eyes. It's like this is freaky. Is this the same? Is this kind of like a version of the arc that Adam Carolla went on, where he was a fun guy when he was on Loveline with Dr. Drew, but then that dissolved, and then he started paying his own bills, and he all of a sudden this right-wing anti-tax maniac. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. You gotta pay.
Well, also like there's like all the cancel culture. There's that stuff, which is like I get it's annoying, and there's a lot of people. I don't want to say both sides, but there's a lot of people with different spectrums that will try to get you fired for whatever, just because they know you. And I don't like that idea that like people saying things clearly, like you give them room to apologize. You don't like, let's do super sleuthing and let's find out that they've been a horrible person the other time. Like, can't people change? Like, I get that, but also like the garbage I don't know. It's it's a lot of comedians suddenly became very conservative after you could get fired for making a joke. So.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't like that shit either, and I think it's a bunch of people that just they suddenly have this voice and people are paying attention to them, but they're rapidly wearing out their welcome, and they're also alienating people that are like not going to forget, and they're going to come back. But I also don't think you can't just open up with like Holocaust humor or something and think that or be real nakedly misogynistic. Like you couldn't even do that back when you could do that. I mean, there were certain venues, pay access venues that I had, like Opie and Anthony and stuff like that, where I did enjoy that, but that was like on XM radio. I was paying for that. I mean, I've been an XM radio customer since it existed, and I just kind of fell into that, and then that led into a bunch of podcasts and stuff, which, you know, the stuff you have to pay for. You know, if you like, and I like edgy humor. I like it to get mean, but also I don't want to see people brutalized either. It's like, it's kind of like my son playing football. It's like, yeah, it's a brutal, violent, high contact sport, but you're agreeing to play the game. No one's forcing you to go out there. So it's like, I like that, but I don't want people to feel minimized because they don't like that and they're not participating and belittled. But there's no balance in that. The whole thing's completely out of whack. It just seesaws from one side to the other. It's like, I want to be Adolf Hitler, and then the other people are like, no, I want to control how you think and speak. It's like, okay, whatever, for whatever reason. But yeah, when you get those people on there that, like, you know, yeah, Hitler wasn't such a bad guy. It's like, okay, come on now. I mean, that's not what they actually say, but that's almost the genesis of what they're saying. It's like, what are you trying to prove here? Are you just trying to piss people off?
But yeah, that's just a lot of, oh, you can't do comedy anymore. It's like, no, you just can't do easy layup comedy like you used to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't. There's some things that I like an intelligent setup that leads to really inappropriate things being said, but I don't just like really appropriate things just being said right from the word go. I want to take this journey that leads to, you know, X, Y, or Z. Because if it's funny along the way and I laugh, I enjoy it. But again, there's not very many people doing that anymore. It's all just like, I'm controversial, man. It's like, oh, no, you're just annoying. You're just annoying.
Yeah, I mean, but it happens to a lot of comedians, especially like when they become successful, where they stop being funny because they're no longer making jokes. They're now like motivational speakers and bad ones.
Yeah. Stop that.
And their audience laughs at them.
Just be Mark Normand is a perfect example of a guy who says crazy things nowadays, but it's all funny. You know, he just riffs off what other people say, and it's like totally insane. But yeah, these guys that get all serious, it's like, now you have to pay attention to me because I'm important. It's like, no, we gave you millions of dollars because you're funny, and most people aren't, and we just want to laugh. We don't care about your life affirming philosophy. Most comedians, their personal lives are a train wreck full of nuclear fuel anyway. It's like, I'm not really interested.
Yeah, that's why we relate to them. Like, they're garbage too. It's just you're more clever at speaking with your garbage and organizing it.
It's fun to hear you talk, and you're going to go do a horse trough full of cocaine and die someday. But yeah, until that happens, we're there.
I always like Eddie Pepitone. He does a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But you can tell, like, he does edgy humor, but you can tell it's like, because of how his voice is, and how some things just like come out of nowhere. It works for him, and like usually by the end of the set, you can see that like he's kind of a gentle, well-meaning person, but like this is the character he's chosen to portray.
Yeah.
Or even like
the other thing about a lot of comedians is they're playing a character.
Yeah.
They're not that. Some of them are like they are in real life. Like Patton Oswalt is the same person. From everything I've seen of him, there's a serious side, but he's not doing a character or a bit all the time. Yeah. He's not, he's just like, I'm a guy who has all these weird thoughts, and I'm basically kind of an introverted person, and I like science fiction and all that. And again, he takes you. Patton Oswalt says all the horrible shit too, but he takes you on a journey with it. And it's like, oh, this is why this works. Versus, I'm just going to scream obscene things, and everyone's going to, if you're not with me, you're with the, Nazis or whatever, the word police. It's like, no, you're just being an ass.
Yeah, but Eddie Pepitone is probably the last comedy album I listened to.
Oh, okay.
Because he came out with one, like, I think he recorded it before the pandemic, and it got released like kind of near the end of the pandemic. Well, I guess we're still in the pandemic. Towards the end of last year.
Pandemic 1.0, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're going to use the Evangelion number scheme. This is Pandemic 3.0 plus 1. You'll never be healthy. That's where we're going. But yeah, so I'm sure all my favorite podcasts are dying, but I'm finding new ones too.
Yeah.
I just have to pay for these. So, because those guys will say whatever they want to, and guess what? They're not Klansmen. Just saying funny stuff.
Yeah, I've been really getting to, like, one of my new rotation has been the Doughboys, because they just talk about fast food. It's like, all right, I can understand. And they also just talk about hating themselves for being so fat and eating fast food. It's like, I can totally understand. This is great.
I'm with you guys. I get it.
And
I'm not a fast food guy, but I understand.
And then they make inappropriate suicide humor on rare occasion, but just really hits when they do it.
I love suicide humor, but I also understand why a lot of people do not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people killed themselves recently.
I'd stopped watching Family Guy like 10 years ago. Not necessarily because like I didn't like it anymore. It's like, okay, I get it. We're just kind of running a treadmill here. I don't need to see this anymore. But like on YouTube, they have like the
all the inappropriate things or horrible things on Family
No,
Guy.
but like no, just like all the cutaway humor, which is mostly inappropriate. And like there's a lot of suicide humor, an uncomfortable amount of it. I was like, but it makes me laugh, and then I feel bad.
Well, the trick with them is how they'll one of the characters, usually it's Stewie or Peter, will say something wildly inappropriate and disturbing, and they just kind of hold frame. Like they don't cut right back. It's just like, oh, what was the thing? Like the grossest thing ever on Family Guy when Peter has the horse that's like its eyes are crossed and it's obviously not in good shape, and Stewie's eating cereal and he's like, hey, don't drink any of the milk in here. This is all horse semen. And they just focus in on Stewie just keeps eating and chewing and staring directly at the camera. And it's like, oh, God, that was like 10 years ago. It was not recent.
Oh, there's one where they did like multiple jokes about like people with like head trauma shooting themselves in the chest and like send my brain to the doctors to be studied. I was I was like, oh Jesus Christ. And like I know multiple people have done that, and there was a lady that did it last week. And it's just so like, oh my God, that is so inappropriate.
Yeah, that's dark humor.
Yeah.
That's who's the guy who specializes in that? The comedian. There's a few of them, like Daniel Tosh.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of the guy. Is it Anthony Jeselnik?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he I always love his his wind up and delivery on that is like, this you can't get much darker. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, because after Anthony Jeselnik, you got to watch some Burt Kreischer, and it's kind of just chill. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. Speaking of all our favorite comedians, would they have like a bad batch of cocaine and a bunch of people wound up in the hospital?
I didn't hear about this. What's this?
I forget which ones it was. It wasn't like the main guys, but it was like some of the other people you might know that are kind of on the periphery of being big. Yeah, they got a bunch of cocaine and had fentanyl in it, and like everyone's heart stopped, and they got them. No one died, I don't think.
Okay, because I know
the hospital.
I know the guy who played Omar on The Wire died recently because of.
Was that drug related?
Yeah, it was drug related.
Okay. I can't think of who it was. Let me look it up real quick. Because it was a bunch of people got some cocaine and they were going to do it together, and it was all laced with this fentanyl crap.
Yeah.
I know one of them was the guy who used to do that podcast with Joey Diaz. Think of his name.
Crap. Yeah.
Yeah, Kate Quigley was one of them. Oh, somebody did die. Fuquan Johnson. But I don't know if they were doing the same cocaine.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see. Fuquan Johnson, 2 others dead after apparent drug overdose. Model and comedian Kate Quigley expected to recover, but like her heart stopped. But I don't know if they were all together doing it.
Okay.
But I just heard like a bunch of comedians.
So it might have been, yeah, might have been the same batch.
Yeah.
They all have the same dealer.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have sort of, yeah, we got a pretty big F1 update this. Yeah, so I had last Sunday off, so I actually got to watch a Grand Prix. I watched the Dutch Grand Prix.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, did you get to watch it or?
I watched it like Wednesday.
Okay. End up being kind of boring, but it's still a cool track. It's too narrow for those cars to pass each other, so kind of after the first like couple laps, it's kind of like that's the lineup, except for because Perez had to start. Why I can't remember why did Perez? Oh yeah, because he got fucked in qualifying.
Oh, okay.
Because the track was kind of short, and so like people kept getting each other's ways during qualifying. So Perez got knocked out in Q3 at qualifying, so he's in the back. And I think he changed an engine part because they're like, well, fuck it, just change all the engine parts so you get like a penalty. And so I think he had to start from the pit lane, and so he came from all the way from last place and I think finished 8th.
Okay.
So he was the only one that was like really making moves on people. So.
Because he had to.
Yeah. Well, also just shows like how incredibly like on point that Red Bull car is. Yeah, because like they Max Verstappen lapped the entire field except for Gasly, Bottas, and Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gasly was just all on his own. Like he didn't have anything. He wasn't catching the Mercedes, and nobody behind him was catching him. So he's just by himself that entire fucking race.
Yeah, they're using the Honda, right? They're AlphaTauri.
Yeah. They have the same engine as Red Bull. But like not really getting the performance out of it as you expect. So Red Bull has some special magic that AlphaTauri can't replicate. And like I said before, like they can't, even though they're both owned by Red Bull, those teams are technically independent, and so they cannot just send technical packages back to each other. It's like, this is how you make our car. They can't do that. That's okay. So they have to. Yeah, I think they're using like last year's Red Bull chassis and stuff like that to get around some of the. So they use their update tokens in different areas. I think around the suspension. So they got around a bunch of stuff by using like Red Bull's chassis from last year and adding a bunch of other stuff. And it was clever and cost saving, but and that car is really quick, but it just doesn't have the pace, as they say, as the Red Bulls. But.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Max Verstappen won in his home race. So of course they went fucking crazy and lit off orange flares all over the place, and I think they had big signs all over the place, and security guards like no orange flares, but of course they had like 1,000 orange flares out there.
Immediately.
Yeah. So he won his home race. So that's cool for Max Verstappen. So, and apparently the Dutch fans were very amenable, or how do you say that? Very welcoming, because like even like you had they had these 3 guys that were like dressed up in like Mercedes clothing because they're just like huge Hamilton fans.
Yeah.
And like they said that the Dutch fans like couldn't be nicer to them, even though like they're basically the opposite of what they want. And then they showed pictures of like, because it was basically like it's the track is on a beach, so it's already a party out there.
Yeah.
There's bank churn, so that's pretty cool. And like they showed like an aftermath of the big party they had, and it was like just not a drop of litter in the sight. So those Dutch fans are pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be completely smashed, but it's like, we got to pick up all our trash.
Yeah.
Great product placement in this from the Heineken people.
Yeah.
And they get the name right in the race. The Heineken. What is it? The Heineken Dutch Grand Prix. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I always forget that like alcohol can sponsor vehicles. That always seems kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
But, you can't have all the high end watch manufacturers supporting your F1 teams. You got to have other stuff. So I like that. Like Red Bull just has Walmart like on one of their like aero elements. Just Walmart. Yeah, we're sponsored by Walmart. Yeah.
Heineken, I think, is probably the biggest business interest there.
Probably. I mean,
it's actually good beer. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week we have what are they calling it? I think it's just the Italian Grand Prix. There's 2 races in Italy, but I think this is the one that's called the Italian Grand Prix. Oh wait, Imola was the other one. Never mind. Yeah. So yeah, this is the Italian Grand Prix. Robert Kubica gets another drive because Kimi Räikkönen got COVID last race, and so he's quarantining, so he won't make it to this race because this is another triple header. So, which every F1 team seems to really hate, but they really want to have like the most races in an F1 season ever. They're really trying to get that going. So, and this is also a week they have the sprint qualifying thing. So we had we had qualifying today, and then we'll have the sprint race tomorrow, and then the race is on Sunday. Bottas came number 1 for qualifying this week, but they changed the engine on his car.
Okay.
So this is the last thing I heard, which seems fucking weird. He's gonna start the sprint race at number 1. But no matter what happens, he's gonna start Sunday's race at the back of the field.
Okay. Because
they changed the engine on his car. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That seems fucking weird. Hamilton was 2. I think Verstappen was 3, and then both McLarens are 4 and 5, and then I believe there was the 2 Ferraris, and then Perez is in there somewhere. I think Perez got fucked again in qualifying. Monza is a hilarious track for qualifying because nobody wants to go first, because whoever goes first is like punching, because there's a lot of long straights in the Monza track, and so everybody waits to get a toe. So they're waiting for somebody to go first so that they punch through the air so they can get in thinner air to go drive as fast as possible. And so like a lot of times like no one will go, and then they're just like there's like a pack of 8 cars not driving. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? It's hilarious and dangerous. It's fucking stupid. This is like I think this is the lowest downforce track that they run, because the straightaways are so important that the wing they put on the car is barely a wing. Also means a lot looser in the corners. They have it, and sometimes they'll just like fly off the track, like that happened to Leclerc last year. But you'll get that, like it's Curva Grande. I think that's where it happens. Which literally means big curve. It's a really long curve that you can pick up a lot of speed on. A lot of cool names on the track here. I believe another one's called Parabolica, which is just another curve. I can't remember if it's. I might be thinking of Imola. There's one track where the turn is called Aqua Minerale, which I believe is like, and I'm like, does that just mean mineral water?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, is that just Italian for mineral water? And then we've had a lot of confirmations on who's moving where. So Bottas has a future. He is going to take Kimi Räikkönen's seat at Alfa Romeo. Also, weirdly enough, in 2023, apparently Andretti Autosport is going to buy out Alfa Romeo
Okay.
and get into F1. So then
Seems
we'll have
like an interesting move.
yeah, and then we'll actually have a legitimate American team in F1. Well, also, remember that next year is the car change, and it's a lot. The costs are going way down, so it's actually a bit more.
So you don't have to have like $1 billion purse to
No.
get into F1. I mean, yes, but no.
Yeah, but there's a crazy list I saw because I was there. There's something I was reading about, like, you know, kind of the rise of IndyCar, because IndyCar is having kind of a resurgence right now, and NASCAR is kind of going down, but still not as big as NASCAR. And then the F1 stuff is kind of raising up IndyCar. But there's a list of like what it costs to like run a car for a year. And the F1 was at the top of it, and it was like $145 million. But I don't know, because I don't think in F1 you can just run one car. I think you have to run two cars, so that might be why the cost is so inflated, because it's actually the cost of two cars. But either way, it's like 145 or $70 million. That's still crazy. And I think, and then like IndyCar was like $17 million. It's like, well, no reason, no wonder people want to get into IndyCar. It's so cheap to get into IndyCar, and you don't have to run like a whole team. You can run one car, you can run 5 cars, whatever. The one that was crazy is that NASCAR was $42 million. That's like, why do those cars cost so much? I mean, maybe because they're bumping around and wrecking a lot, but I don't know. But yeah, that's what that NASCAR is also getting a new redesign, and that's also supposed to like update a lot of features of NASCAR while also keeping the cost down.
Oh, okay.
They'll also have like it'll be the single nut thing on there, so they won't have like the 8 nuts that they have now, which will
The old F1 Uninut.
which will probably change pit stops pretty considerably, but we'll see.
So many people in NASCAR too.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of them all.
Yeah, and then Albon goes to Williams because Russell goes to Mercedes.
Oh, okay.
But I guess like Albon is still retained as a Red Bull driver, but he's going to be driving for a Mercedes junior team, so it was kind of weird. There's some bitterness between Toto Wolff and Christian Horner about that, but he's going to be a Red Bull driver driving for Williams, which that whole Red Bull driving program is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Because, okay, if we think next year, like, here's all the Red Bull drivers on the grid. So you got Max Verstappen at Red Bull, of course. You got Carlos Sainz at Ferrari. He's a Red Bull driver. You got Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren. He was a Red Bull driver. You got Sebastian Vettel at Aston Martin. He was a Red Bull driver. You got Alex Albon now at Williams. He was a Red Bull driver. Yeah, they're like, they account for most of the drivers on the grid. But also, energy drinks bring in a lot of money. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Red Bull like sponsors people like jumping out of capsules.
yeah.
The atmosphere, and they have their acrobatic aerial team, and they know how to get the name out there.
Yeah. And then so now the thing is, well, the rumor is like maybe Sebastian Vettel's not going to come back next year, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, like technically, Lance Stroll isn't like locked up for next year. It's like, is his dad going to fire him from F1? I don't think so, but technically he's not locked in for next year. And And then who else is? Oh yeah, so like the second seat at Alfa Romeo is pretty much up for grabs. Giovinazzi has a foot in the door, but it looks like they're going to get rid of him, which is kind of I don't know. Giovinazzi's like the world's okayest driver, and that's not enough for F1. A lot of what he does well is never on television because he'll be at the back of the field. He has really great starts, but and good pace, but he just doesn't qualify well, even though he's qualified. Oh yeah, he got fucked in the last race. He qualified in 7th, and he got like a tire puncture, and somebody hit him. He got fucked.
Wow.
But yeah, so like who's rumored? I don't know, like if where De Vries is gonna. He might not get an F1 drive because right now it looks like Guan Yu Zhou, he's the Chinese driver from F2, is like the highest position for that seat because he's going to be coming in with $30 million worth of sponsors.
Yeah, and how many fans?
Yeah, a billion.
Yeah, a billion fans. Yeah.
And then I think Hulkenberg is like kind of hanging around there, but I don't think anybody's going to pick up Hulkenberg unless Aston Martin does if Vettel's like leaving F1 next year, but we'll see. Because it was also rumored that Mick Schumacher might have gone to Alfa Romeo, but it looks like he's staying at Haas. So, and then of course they can't get rid of Mazepin because that's where they're getting all their money from. So,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's F1 right now.
F1.
It's good to see Bottas is going to be racing next year. So,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it was funny. Yeah, it was funny during the race in the Dutch Grand Prix where they put new tires on. they put new tires on Bottas just for safety reasons because like he was doing a long run on his tires they were trying to split the strategy to try to catch Max Verstappen, but it didn't end up working. And so they put new tires on just to make sure that like his tires didn't blow up in the race. And the way that how close the race is this year, like Bottas just goes out there and just like, well, with these new tires, this is easy now. And he starts getting the fastest lap. And like they get on the radio, it's like, Valtteri, abort the fastest lap, abort the fastest lap. And so he slows down in the third sector because he had the first two were purple. And then like he slows down in the third sector and he still gets the fastest lap. There's like this bit of panic for a moment because like, oh, we really need that point. And like Lewis Hamilton has like 2 laps and I think he beats it by like a second and a half. So there really wasn't a problem for Lewis Hamilton getting the fastest lap, but it was funny for a moment there. But yeah, Bottas leaving Mercedes, and so this weekend he gets that top spot, which they might fuck him again this week because it might be team orders because he's going to start that sprint race at the top and all the points count. So it might be like, hey, let Hamilton by. I know you're first, but let Hamilton by. So I don't think I think Bottas is really gonna. Also, he's signed a 3-year deal at Alfa Romeo, which is in F1 is a long-term deal.
Yeah.
So he says that's what he wanted was a long-term deal because I believe every Mercedes contract was a 1-year deal. And he said it's really hard to drive with a knife around your throat. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of distracts. But yeah, that's F1.
And yeah, and so there's sprint race tomorrow and the race on Sunday. So it's all cool things to be had this week. And I don't know where they'll do the other sprint race. There's one more sprint race, but I don't know where they're doing it. It'll probably be at one of the either Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi. Probably not Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I think it's Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. Look.
And there's probably going to be a Qatar race in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the Middle Eastern countries are kind of the easiest ones to get to at the moment.
Yep.
Because of COVID. Oh yeah, well, should we tell Andrew? Because me and Andrew watched All Out, so should we come back next week to talk about All Out?
Yeah.
Okay. Just listen to me talk about wrestling and all these names you don't know. It's like, this is why this is exciting, dude. It's like, okay.
It is exciting. I appreciate your passion.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an exciting time for wrestling because, AEW Dynamite just beat Raw in the demo ratings, so technically they're surpassing Raw in the demo. The coveted 18-49 demo. They're not beating him in total viewers, but like I said before in here, that doesn't necessarily that isn't how Nielsen works anymore. They don't care about your total viewers; it's your percentage of 18-49 because that's where it's easier for advertisers to get money or products to get money from you from that age group. So
he's killing in the demographic then.
And there's just a lot of promise about like other people coming in. Like right now they're just spoiled with talent. Now they have the opposite problem. Now it's like, what do we do with the talent we have? We only have 3 hours every week to devote to them. Like that's actually not enough time for the amount of talent you have. But I guess that's what do they call that? First world problems? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, first world problem.
Should we get into the movie we watched this week?
Yeah, we watched a movie this week. We watched the 1979 The Onion Field, which is a neo-noir crime drama and a true story written by the famous Joseph Wambaugh, who is known as a mystery and kind of was an early. Now they have a whole subgenre of like what do you call it? Like people that write like about true crime.
Yeah.
But he was kind of one of the early guys that did this.
Yeah, wasn't he a cop for like 12 years or something?
Yeah, I believe he was. He was a cop in Los Angeles for 14 years.
Oh,
he also has a master's degree in journalism and writing, which he got while he was a cop. So.
Yeah, because this takes place in Los Angeles. So.
Yeah.
We have a young everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Ted Danson, I think, is his first role.
Yeah, I think this is Ted Danson as a 15-year-old playing
a 6'7" 15-year-old
playing bagpipes.
God, that was weird.
Yeah, it was it was a strange choice, but it was like that. It was based on a real person, and that was his thing. And then we have James Woods.
Yeah, young James Woods.
Very young James Woods.
Playing the crazy guy. What, Powell, I think is his name?
Greg Powell, yeah. Yeah, he was a complete sociopath.
Yeah.
But not a smart person, but kind of a smart person.
Was it like James Youngblood? Is that the guy's name? His last name's Youngblood, which was interesting because the first time you see him, he gets out. It's his first time out of jail, and a guy recognizes him. The guy goes like, "Hey, Youngblood, over here." So in the African American community, and it's probably permeated all culture now, but when like an older guy is addressing a younger guy, but they don't know the name, they'll just call them Youngblood, like as a general term. I thought that's what he was doing here, but his name was just actually Youngblood.
Yeah, it was like a nickname the real person had.
Yeah.
But it had become like, it's one of those nicknames that like becomes his identity.
Yeah.
Oh. And then we have what was the other guy? Because those are the big names, and then
it's John Savage.
Savage.
He just has a great name. I don't actually remember him or anything, but it's like he was in the Deer Hunter. Yeah, but Oh, and like Christopher Lloyd shows up at the end.
Yeah, it's a very young Christopher Lloyd shows
Yeah.
up.
You got that one guy who's like in Blade Runner, the guy with the toys.
Oh, Ronnie Cox.
Yeah, he shows up at the end.
Yeah, he's or is he the interrogating police officer?
Oh no,
Yeah.
Ronnie Cox. No, I'm talking about. Remember the guy who's like the kind of simpleton guy that makes the toys and stuff, and he goes to visit. He's in the elevator when they visit Tyrell in Blade Runner. That guy.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, yeah. Ronnie Cox is the bad guy from RoboCop.
Yeah. No,
You're thinking of what's that guy's name?
no, that guy's also in this movie. He just shows up at the very end.
Yeah.
He's a guy's looking for legal advice from Powell, and he basically is like insinuating he needs sexual favors for his legal advice.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did show up.
But he just it's right at the end. But the bad guy from RoboCop is like is he a cop or is he like a prosecutor?
No, he's like an interrogator because his name's Sergeant Brooks.
Okay.
But he's like the interrogator that like builds the builds the case for the prosecution. Because he's interested in he's the guy who's like, we're gonna get this right because we want this to stick because he killed a cop.
Yeah.
And we want these guys to burn. And
yeah, it starts out like you have Youngblood and Powell just basically doing low level crimes, just armed robbery, and Powell's always wearing like weird outfits and makeup because like so he can change. It's like they'll never know, and it's like that's smart. And like I don't know, but it always just comes off as weird. And he's always like, you're gonna join the family. That's always weird.
yeah.
Because he has a weird thing with trying to think he's taking care of people and they're part of the family, but it gets into the court case. But they get pulled over he gets pulled over by the cops, but they think like they're in more trouble than they actually would be. And so Powell takes Ted Danson's gun, and then John Savage's character like hands over his gun, and they just like hold him hostage and take him out to this onion field. And Powell says some references like a court case, or it's about kidnapping. It's something in California where it's like kidnapping could be considered a capital crime, like they could give you the death penalty for it. But he misinterprets it. You could only get the death penalty if you harmed the person that you kidnapped and or sought out a ransom.
Yeah.
So if they didn't do anything, they wouldn't be under capital crime, but he thought he was going to be killed just for kidnapping a cop, so that's why he kills Ted Danson for whatever reason, presumably. So weird where they shoots him in the upper lip, which is just a weird shot.
Yeah, the whole movie has a disjointed quality to it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, all these people are either weird or just completely nuts.
But John Savage's character gets away, and like a weird thing where he's like, a guy's like on his tractor at night, and he like kind of it's like, no, they're looking for us. We gotta get down. And he like eventually gets to a house, and then they get the rest of the cops there and pick up Ted Danson. I wasn't expecting this thing to like jump like from year to like. Was this take place over like 10 years or even longer than that?
Yeah, I think it's like almost 15.
Okay.
Because when the one guy's trying to get parole, it's like so it goes on. It's like almost what is it? Mid 90s, early 90s, maybe. No, it's in the 80s. Yeah, that's when it ends.
No, it came out in 79, so it could have been good into the 80s.
No, but when did the story?
The story starts in 63.
Oh, okay. So I thought it went into the 80s for some reason. I must have been wrong.
Well, there's more details about this case that occurs in the 80s. Because there isn't like at the end of the movie there isn't like a little. There isn't like information what happened to all the people. The movie just kind of ends. Because
I've been doing like future research.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that too, and then I realized like, oh wait, the interesting stuff that happens after the production of this movie. So yeah, it can't be. Also weird to think that like this movie and Alien came out in the same year.
Yeah, 'cause this movie looks like a movie from the 60s.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it takes place in the 60s, but still, it just looks like an old movie.
Yeah, it just. I don't think it was made for a lot of money either. Yeah, $2.5 million. It's not chump change back then.
But yeah, like one of the interesting things is like so John Savage's character gets out of like what were they like were they like robbery homicide or something like that or just robbery division? With Ted Danson.
Yeah, because I think Ted Danson. Because I think he was in patrol before this.
Yeah.
This was like his first outing, and I think Carl worked in. I think he had a couple years. Was it a couple years in robbery homicide? I don't know. I think yeah. No, I don't think they were homicide detectives. I think they were just like
robbery or whatever.
Yeah, like stolen cars, people robbing houses and shit. I think that.
Well, because he switches to a different division where basically they're looking for like pickpockets at the mall.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing it's like a subdivision of robbery or whatever. And and then he starts John Savage's character starts stealing stuff from the mall. Yeah. It's like, why is he doing that? And then they explain it later on. It's that this guy is like feels he's overcome with guilt from letting Ted Danson character die. That he's basically like trying to like sabotage his own life to get caught because he feels like he needs to get caught for something.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not a cop anymore, and then he like becomes a gardener. It's like, it's just like a weird decline, but yeah, that's what happened to the guy. So.
Yeah, it was basically what they call now PTSD.
Yeah. But yeah, then it becomes Powell represents himself in court, and then like there's also like they're starting to get rid of the death penalty, so they basically just has to delay till like they won't get killed. So they're constantly delaying things, and this it's just kind of like showing like this is this is injustice because they're there's at least the one guy. I mean, like Powell's the only one that you have no sympathy for. You have some sympathy for Youngblood because he's just kind of like he's just out of jail. Maybe he doesn't want to start a life of crime, but he definitely doesn't want to start a life of minimum wage. So he gets caught up with this wrong guy, and that guy kills a cop, and he's just kind of he's an unwitting accomplice, but he's still like he helped them. So
yeah, you're gonna get the gas chamber. That's what they used in California until they abolished it.
Yeah. So a lot of court stuff changed because of this, and a lot of police procedurals, at least in California, changed because of this. So this is kind of like a landmark moment, but it's a weird, sad movie.
Yeah. So one thing I liked about the movie is because when I read like a lot of true crime stuff and things like these actual like crimes, it's like, oh yeah, these people are as random and weird as you think they are. Because in movies, it's like guys that kill cops are like bikers that have a huge gang behind them, and this is what they do. And it's like, no, in real life, people that are just living on emotions and living on the edge of whatever and whatever drugs they're on top of that, it's like, yeah, they'll make decisions like this. And then they'll think that, it's like the guy defending himself in court. Like that was just bizarre.
Yeah.
And it was destined for failure. It was just like
man, when he puts his parents on the stand, that's
God,
Jesus Christ. And it's like,
hey,
you were sick and you were sick, right? And like I had to take care of the children. Like wasn't I good like
role model and keeper of the children?
Yeah, and they're like, I guess, but Jesus Christ, you killed a cop.
That's what the movie captured for me was like just kind of the stupid aggression of people making really dumb decisions and then having to live with that. And then the guy Carl, John Savage character, Carl Hettinger is the cop's name. I mean, that guy drank himself to death essentially. It's what it sounds like. He was never the same, even though he did get back into California politics later in life. But he was it just ruined everyone's life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the weird. Like in the movie, it like kind of ends like on a down note, but like they kind of make it seem like Pal is like, it's like, well, I now have like people think I'm like a lawyer now, so I get to trade legal advice for unlimited blowjobs.
Yeah, for sex with dirty men. It's like, I win. And that's one thing. Like James Woods did great as an actor. I guess he never met this guy in real life.
Yeah.
But he worked off a lot of descriptions, but he really captured kind of the weirdness that exists in the criminal, with a lot of criminals. And because Powell to me seems like a guy who has a low and high IQ. Like he might be good at some things, but in terms of how he deals with people, he's like got a 20 IQ.
Yeah.
Because he is either a sociopath or someone so damaged and wayward by whatever happened in his life, because he was in and out of correctional stuff even as a child.
Yeah.
So this guy's probably seen, and that would be a child in the 50s, which means, oh yeah, there's lots of bad stuff that happened with broomsticks and whips, and you know how the world was back then. So he does capture kind of just the weirdness of this guy. Like this guy's dangerous all the time.
Yeah.
And I like the relationship with him and his wife. Just the weird, like, oh, I'm available for sex with anyone, but just don't do it when Greg's around. It's like, what? Because the guy, Jimmy, sleeps with his wife.
Yeah.
And then the act's kind of weird about it, but it's like, oh, these people are all crazy, except for Youngblood, who's just being like pulled into the vortex of madness, and is not mentally and emotionally ready for that. He's a small time, like, hit and run robber, not someone who shoots people in the face and then tries to present an elaborate legal defense by bringing their almost dead mom on the stand. Wasn't I a good boy? And everyone in the court's like, Jesus. But all this stuff really happened. That's like, if somebody wrote this, no one would believe it. Like, oh, that's not gonna happen. But it did, and it will. So yeah, this is overall is a good movie. It's good. It's definitely a great period piece.
Yeah, I meant to watch. There was like a clip of Ebert like talking about it. I imagine he raved about the movie, but I didn't watch it. But it seemed like Ebert really liked the movie.
Yeah, it's considered a classic.
Huh.
Of this genre of film. It's also considered a very disturbing movie too.
Oh yeah. Because
there's no closure here. It's like one good guy died, the guy whose mom loved him, and he played the bagpipe. Like he was basically a good guy, and then the other guy just lived a life of PTSD and self-destruction for a long time. And then the two guys that got put in prison, I mean, they're both dead now, but wasn't a good life after that.
And both the cops, they were like Marine veterans, but they still like, they still got in this situation. Like it doesn't matter like who you are. Sometimes people get the drop on you.
Well, yeah, this is what made like Gregory Powell such a scary person, like because he obviously, like, in some part of his mind, like any situation which the things they did would have literally, if they just stuck their hands up, like, okay, search the car or whatever, they would have found a couple pistols. I mean, they were both ex-cons. They might have done a few more years in prison, but yeah, it's just the decision to accelerate it, just a full throttle murder.
Yeah.
Is like, it just shows like, oh, there's dangerous people out there that are, willing to do anything at a given time. And I think drugs played more of a part in this than was in the movie, because I'm kind of did a parallel research on this, because a lot of these people I think were on drugs, or at least the bad people.
Yeah.
And that always fuzzies up your ability to interrogate reality and make the right decision.
Was the 60s. So.
Yeah, but James Woods was such a flake weirdo in this. It's like, oh, you just immediately sense danger. And he's not like physically dangerous or anything, but it's like, this guy's capable of anything at any time.
Yeah.
He seems to have weird
ideas. Oh, yeah. Well, you have that thing where he's like talking to the guy and he seems like, hey, he stole my money, right? And he's like he seems to be jovial about it. It's like, that's okay. And then he pulls a gun on him and it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Just at any moment, this guy's going to pull a gun on you.
Yeah. and he seemed to like move around in the black criminal underground of L.A., or at least that's how the movie played it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's kind of carved out a place here. Why? Because he is good, or just he's so weird that people are like, yeah, just don't have problems with this guy. You never know what he's going to do. Because he basically finds Youngblood when he's out of prison, just out of prison.
Yeah.
It's, hey, what are you doing? It's like, oh,
yeah, and they knew he was just out of prison because his style was like 10 years too old or whatever.
Yeah, they were making fun of his suit. So, where'd you get that suit? Is that from whatever prison he was in? But yeah, it was a surprisingly good movie that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And just, completely carried by James Woods. That's the guy you watch in this movie.
Yeah.
But also the guy Franklin Seals, he did a good job of playing a guy just like, I'm out of my depth.
Yeah, you are concerned for him because like he's just and he's in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he doesn't want to kill a cop. Like he was just following along with Pal. It's like,
yeah,
it's like, he might as well have been as hostage of he was just a hostage with a gun.
Yeah, he was. Because when they go and arrest Powell, like he's laid up in a hotel or something somewhere, and when they go arrest Smith, like he's hiding in someone's shed, I think, or something. It was, he just didn't know what to do.
But like in this movie, he's portrayed like we're pretty sure, because Ted Danson gets shot in the face, but then there's like 4 more shots to the chest that actually kills him.
Yeah.
And those they make ambivalent as like, well, maybe Youngblood shot him in the chest. Because well, we've gone this far, he might, because like that they pull away from, so you don't actually know who shot him in the chest, but like we're pretty sure it's Powell. But they leave it somewhat ambivalent. That's why they're both on trial for murdering a cop, is because they don't know who shot the cop. And then like, isn't that like his defense is like, well, I didn't shoot the cop or something like that. It was another guy.
Yeah, he's pretty much like abrogates any knowledge of doing anything bad, just being there, and kind of like, well, why didn't you do anything to stop him? It's like, what do you want me to do? It's kind of like that kind of stuff. But I don't know. There's not much information on him. There's some, but it's basically that he was in and out of prison the rest of his life. He did get paroled many times, but he always got in trouble.
Yeah, there was like I read some trivia that there was like some advocate group that like got his parole rescinded, and I believe he eventually died in prison in 2012.
I think that was
I think Powell died in like 94 or something like that, like liver disease or something, or I could have those backwards.
Yeah, Powell died of prostate cancer.
Okay.
At Vacaville, which was a horrible prison in California. I don't know if it's still there. They've closed a lot of those down. But like Smith, Youngblood, like in real life, he got paroled many times, but he always got put back in prison.
Well, yeah, there's that one shot where he's like sitting in the yard, and he's like, there's like this really skinny old black man that's just kind of stumbling through the yard, and that's just like, well, that's my future.
Yeah, he got paroled in the 80s, but then failed a drug test, and he got paroled in 86. And was found to be under the influence of narcotics, and then in 1989 he was holding a knife to somebody. And then in 2007 he died in prison of a heart attack.
Okay.
But he was being held for another parole violation. So.
Yeah. Yes, I'd say in the movie they give a better rendition of the guy.
Well, that's the thing. Like with that system, it's like once you're in it, you're never out.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? You can't go get a job like mine. I don't think a lot of places won't hire you at all. So it's like, once you're in trouble, for that kind of stuff, especially. It's like, oh, what are you on parole for? A murder of a policeman. Okay, thanks. We're not interested. We're not going to hire you. Now, nowadays, I don't know. Places are getting so desperate, they'll probably hire anyone. Used to be to get a job where I worked, it was like no felons need apply. Now it's like, kind of open, you know. But no one wants to take violent felons.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, you know, you don't want to bring that trouble into your life. Whether that's fair or not to say, that's how people feel. So, yeah, James Woods got a lot of attention for this. Didn't he win a Golden Globe out of this, I think?
I don't know. I didn't see the awards for this.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
79 seemed like kind of a stacked year. Well, actually, I don't know if Alien got a lot of Oscar noms, even though that's probably the most influential movie of that year. But also, Apocalypse Now came out in '79. But you know that movie was in production for like 6 years. So.
And after this, James Wood did a one we talked about, Videodrome.
Oh, okay.
It was immediate Onion Field follow-up. Well, not immediate. It was in '83. So. Yeah. And James Woods hasn't done a movie since 2013.
Yeah, it seems all right. Was it Shark or whatever, the TV show he did?
Oh, I'm not even sure. Yeah, it just has his movie credits here. I don't know what his TV credits are. It's too bad, though. He's a great actor. Just don't cross him on Twitter.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he does. He probably has like investments that has him sound for the rest of his life, and then
Yeah, he's like got a. I think he's the only guy in Hollywood with a higher IQ than Quentin Tarantino, or at least that's the rumor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he has a genius range IQ. Did good for a kid from, where's he from? Utah?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's from Utah.
Oh.
It's called Vernal, Utah.
No association with the Mormons?
No. He's yeah, I read something about that once. It's like, yeah, it was a lonely place to not be a Mormon. But yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think of the director of this film, Harold Becker.
Yeah, I didn't look up his stuff. I'd never heard of him before.
Oh, he's done, what would we know more recently? Like Sea of Love in 1989. That was with Al Pacino.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then Malice.
Oh, I remember that.
That was written by Aaron Sorkin and with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Good one. City Hall, which was Al Pacino and Joan Cusack. That was kind of interesting.
Okay.
Mercury Rising, that was terrible.
Oh, yeah, that was awful.
Domestic Disturbance with John Travolta, never saw it.
Oh.
He was a producer, executive producer only on Vengeance, a Love Story with Nicolas Cage in 2017. So, that's a hit. But he's 92 years old now. So.
Huh.
But he's known as a thriller neo-noir director.
Yeah, it seems weird that that's got thrown in the neo-noir thing, because it's not necessarily like a mystery. It's more of like a... It's more like, I don't know, like a, not tone piece, but it's more about like it's more about the passage of time and what happens to people after a thing. It's not necessarily a mystery or whatever. But noir doesn't have to be a mystery. It's just kind of like that's usually its thing. But
I see it as kind of a dark police procedural.
Yeah.
A very dark episode.
Yeah.
Because it's like a nice guy just gets blown away in a field over nothing.
No, nothing. Yeah.
It's not like he was like, shot down saving orphans from bank robbers or something. It was a couple of idiots. Just like, oh, we're kidnapping now, so I'm gonna get murdered. Yeah, that was one of the they changed. That was one of the defense tactics too. Was like, oh, we've got to change our legal codes so criminals can more easily interpret them. It's like, oh yeah, let's help them out. But yeah, so that's the Onion Field. Check it out. Criterion collection, Criterion channel, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was weird. Like I saw that the writer, he wrote a bunch of books, but like the next movie he was attached to was called like The Black Marble or something. And apparently it's a comedy about cops. I was like,
Okay.
wow, that seems like a wild swing.
That's a weird change, but it happens.
Yeah.
With the guy from Chernobyl, was it Craig Mazin? Like,
Yeah. Where like
known
this
Leftover 2 or
Hangover 2.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna do a deep dive on Chernobyl. Oh, new Chernobyl book I got.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, this is by a Ukrainian. It's called Accident in Chernobyl. Fairly interesting. It's weird though because all the names are anglicized in Ukrainian instead of Russian. So when they spell out the names, it's like, oh, they're all spelled differently in Ukrainian, but I know these characters. But it goes. I mean, it doesn't cover the same. This is more the construction side of it,
Yeah.
and all the failures that went on in the Soviet system at that time, constructing nuclear reactors under a 5-year schedule, which was insane. Because we couldn't do them in under 10. The French couldn't do them in under 12. Only the British put up reactors quickly. But they use that Magnox system, which nobody else uses anymore. So, which is the magnesium oxide reactor. And it's cooled with like some kind of liquid nitrogen, essentially. It's kind of gas like that.
I always
they
like
can put those up quickly.
I always like the Canadian can-do reactors. They use like heavy water and like depleted uranium or something like that.
Well, they can grind up fuel rods from other plants.
Yeah.
And make them into fuel rods and reuse them, and it's been successful. It's a neat idea, but nobody wants to transfer said rods anywhere. No one wants to keep moving around, and they wanted to store the spent rods from that in the Great Lakes, and it's like, no. Wrong answer. But yeah, so I'm reading that right now, but it's kind of interesting because it's like, who is this guy? Oh yeah, this is Ukrainian Anglicanized instead of Russian. Because like Dyatlov, who's the main baddie in the control room from the series and all the books, well, his name is spelled how they spell it, Diyatlov. That's the Russian version of it, but in Ukrainian, the Y's are replaced with I's because that makes a different sound, I guess, and so that's how they Anglicanize it. So it's like, oh, is this a new character? No, this is the same. So yeah, I'm closing in on that. There's a few more that have come out that I'll probably read because I got to read every book about that and Richard Nixon ever written, and I don't know why. Well, Chernobyl stuff, there's some things I can't read because they're just purely technical. It's like written by nuclear engineers for nuclear engineers. Well, I'm not gonna get much out of this. So. I like the weird Russians that have a cult around that, though, that are actual scientists, too. They're like, well, for all the bad that came out of Chernobyl, good has come out, too, because we're closer to unlocking the secret of turning water into plasma energy, which we think happened when the Chernobyl reactor exploded. It's like, well, that's a cool theory, but how are you going to prove and or recreate that? You're just going to blow up another nuclear reactor?
There's like a weird thing where like the Chernobyl is being used as like a refuge for nearly extinct animals, and like they're
There's
thriving.
no people there. Yeah. There's no people live there, and radiation is not as there's a lot of fiction around radiation. You don't want to be near it when it actually happens, but I mean, people still live in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, so
Yeah.
Chernobyl was way worse than that in terms of radiation, but yeah, there's things come back. I mean, it's better. Don't eat the berries off the trees, those animals can apparently, and it doesn't affect them. So I remember they thought the fish were all mutating, but people were releasing giant catfish into the Chernobyl, the rivers and stuff around there, just to screw with everyone, because those catfish weren't native to that region. But a catfish is just a garbage disposal, so they'll eat anything. They can thrive anywhere. And so yeah, it's like, oh, giant mutant catfish at Chernobyl. It's like, no, those are from Russia. They're not. They have them that big in Russia too.
And apparently, Christopher Nolan's next movie is going to be about Oppenheimer and creating the bomb. It's called Bombshell.
That could be good.
Yeah.
It'd be told out of order.
Yeah. I'm already thinking of like what's the weird thing that they're gonna do to to make it interesting to Christopher Nolan.
Well, there was a great movie that it's hard to find anywhere now. It's just called Fat Man and Little Boy,
Yeah, I've seen that.
and it had who
John
was in it?
Cusack.
John Cusack was in it. Who played Oppenheimer? These are all actors.
Is it like the? It's like the guy who's like in Star Trek as the guy who creates warp drive. Is he? I can't remember.
Look it up. But I know it's like for a long time it just like disappeared.
Yeah, I think. No, I think that was a major release. I can't remember, or was that a made-for-TV movie?
Yeah, because Paul Newman was in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably.
He played Leslie Groves. Oh, Dwight Schultz. Yep, played Oppenheimer. But John Cusack was the main character. But it's like they really probed. Like it was a very interesting historical film because it talked about the problems they had making the nuclear bombs, but it also talked about the private lives. And I'd never, I mean, I knew this from the story, but it's like, yeah, half these people were like intellectual communists and stuff like that. And a lot of those scientists were very deeply immoral people who had wild lives, and the government was trying to keep a lid on that. It's like, because you absolutely could not talk about the Manhattan Project. So they had to watch all these guys. But yeah. Because Oppenheimer was a weird dude. Like, if you read his whole biography, I mean, he was someone who was insanely smart, but he was like a weird person personally.
Oh yeah, all those geniuses are weird.
Yeah.
Ever? I immediately forget the book. There's a guy that worked on. Is it Robert Feynman? Is that right?
Yeah, Feynman.
Yeah. He has a really interesting book, and although like his details of working on the bomb is like. It's like almost comical. Like he was like learning how to like lockpick the filing cabinets and stuff like that. It's like, you guys should really be better at this. Like anybody could get in here.
Yeah.
And like all he did was, and like he didn't really necessarily work on the bomb. He worked on calculations on calculating like where they should detonate the bomb to the blast wave will like amplify itself as it bounces off the ground and buildings and stuff like that. That's what he did the calculations for.
Yeah.
So he didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great movie though. It's kind of an entree into the Manhattan Project, and they had a whole TV series around it too that was kind of cool.
It was at the
AMC.
No. It was crap. What's the WGN? It was a WGN show.
The Chicago Superstation had a show.
Yeah, it's just called Manhattan, right? Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah,
but that had a lot of detail in it. I mean, all stuff I'd read, but it's like to see it all at once. It was interesting. Like I didn't know they had I knew they had German scientists we'd captured. Like there was a lot of women working there that were like just German scientists. And it's like, yeah, they can't leave the country or anything, but they got a lot of money we pay them.
Did you see the new Matrix trailer?
Oh yeah. We'll see how that goes.
I'm excited. I hear they do something like way different with it. That like whether you're on board or you're gonna they give you an escape clause basically. It's like, hey, you're either gonna like this or hate it, and they let you know like within the first 5 minutes. So whatever they're doing, they'll let you know. That's what I heard about it. But yeah, it's interesting that like it's like Keanu Reeves has kind of been like the sort of harbinger. He's like basically like been at the point of like all different action moments in time of like current modern of action movies, because like maybe you can throw Speed in there, that's 90s action movies, and then like does the Matrix kind of changes everything, everybody tries to copy it, then everybody immediately gets sick of it, and then John Wick kind of becomes the new action thing where it's more like straightforward, more realistic, but also you put a little flair on it. And like here, we're going to have even more modern filming standards, and we're going back to slow motion action stuff. And I am totally down for slow motion gunfights and judo and martial arts and car chases. I am totally down to see that shit again.
Yeah.
But absolutely no idea what they're doing with the story.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Because, you know, spoilers, Neo's dead at the end of the third one.
Yeah, I don't know where this goes. But they'll make something up. They always do. I'm sad to see like Lawrence Fishburne didn't have anything to do with it, and
Yeah.
it makes me think of what else is he doing, or is not just reprising the Matrix role, because he was like the second or third most popular character in that franchise.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm just not coming back, but we're gonna call another guy Morpheus. It's like, okay.
Oh, is that dude just supposed to be Morpheus straight up? Huh. Okay.
I that's what I gathered from.
Oh, I didn't actually look it up, but
Yeah, I looked it up.
oh, you look okay. So I figured he was just supposed to be kind of like an echo. Like he's not Morpheus, but clearly he has a lot of mannerisms that look like Morpheus. So they're kind of, they're doing the the George Lucas thing. Like it rhymes. It's circular.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Called the Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah. But
yeah, he's just called Morpheus.
Huh. Okay.
Oh, Jada Pinkett Smith is in it again, but I don't know for how long. And they couldn't get Agent Smith to come back.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of thinking. Is like, I think like because Keanu Reeves is older, and obviously this is older Keanu Reeves. Like you think, obviously this is like sometime in the future beyond the Matrix, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Because they always. Well, they mentioned the original Matrix stuff about like how there are other people that could control the Matrix, and like and so like they always imply that this thing is sick. That one scene where like they're talking to the dude that looks like the KFC guy, and they're just like going in and out of the architect, and he's basically like talking about how this just happens over and over again, and like this is really nothing new.
Yeah, that guy was an interesting character. I like the actor too. That was a German actor who didn't speak English.
Huh.
Fed him his lines, I heard, because they wanted him to sound kind of disjointed. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. It's like the reason the way that guy talked the way he did is because I didn't really know what he was saying.
I like they did a spoof of it. I think it's in one of the Scary Movies with George Carlin as that guy.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
It was incredibly stupid, but I liked it.
Yeah, those Scary Movies were a blend of. It's like, oh, this is almost Airplane. No, it isn't. Then it kind of veers off.
Well, the first one's good. The second one's awful. The third and fourth ones are like PG-13 movies. I remember liking the third one, or whatever one they were doing. It was Charlie Sheen, and they were doing more of a spoof on Signs. That one I liked, but it was also done by one of the Airplane guys. It was one of the brothers, but it wasn't the other. It wasn't both of them. Yeah. I'm excited for some more Matrix. So.
I can't believe that Keanu Reeves is like 58. It's like, wow. I just never think of him as an older guy, but yeah, he is.
Yeah, I can't remember what makes him look older, with or without the beard.
Yeah,
because usually the beard will hide some things and make you look younger, but maybe in this case he looks actually older with the beard.
Yeah, he's had a long career.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember he didn't do the sequel to Speed, and he had a bunch of flops, and people are like, well, his career's over. Yeah. And then he did The Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he seems like a guy. It's like you got to build a role around him.
Yeah.
Like it's like you got to like John Wick is perfect for him because he's so low key. You don't, this isn't Laurence Olivier. This is you got to build kind of. There's a certain role he plays really well.
Well, also like his physical commitment to things, because like the training he does for those movies, like it's him doing it.
Yeah.
Like you watch those videos of him doing all that like gun range stuff, and it's like because he just trains his ass off, and it's like, oh, you could probably put this guy in a competition, and he'd just blow away the competition.
Yeah. He's good at it. He likes his motorcycles. I know that.
Yeah, he basically like, yeah, he lives very like, he basically like, he gets a paycheck and he donates almost all of it to charity, and then like he just keeps a little for himself to get a new bike.
Yeah. Get like a Norton Sibley or some bike that they only made 3 of, and it's like, yeah, come on.
But yeah, he did The Matrix, and then like I think Constantine would have worked out, but I think they're a bit too soon on rated R comic book movies before that was acceptable, and like they kind of like that was probably, I don't know, when did Constantine come out? Was that before the Avenger movies? Let me look it up. I'll look it up right here. Constantine. 2005, because I believe. Let's see, I think Iron Man was 2007, 2008. Yeah, so this is before the Marvel stuff. So, yeah, because like even though they lost their ass on Constantine, had they known they just made a sequel and they would have made more money, they probably would have kept at that series. I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie. It was kind of a bizarre subject, but it worked.
Yeah. I never read the comics though. I hear they're good.
Yeah, I always mean to get around to that, but I never do.
But then at some point John Wick comes along. So
yeah,
and then redefines action, and then they've done 4 of those. So. Or no, they're going to do 4. Yeah, they haven't done the 4th one yet.
They're filming it in 2022.
Yeah.
Or they're filming it now. It comes out in 2022.
Yeah.
So what was one of my favorite weird Keanu? Oh, the animated one they did, Scanner Darkly, one that Alex Jones was into.
Huh.
That was that's a perfect kind of role for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an undercover cop. I'm so undercover I've lost my identity. And I don't think these drugs are that bad. Okay.
I'm a real sucker for the Lake House, because like I hate romantic movies, but you put a sci-fi twist in it, and it's like, oh, this is all right.
It's a romance movie with a time travel twist. Try this out. Well, that's all I got for this week.
All right.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
And this